The lists are coming out. Pre-draft, top 30. Now it gets all convoluted regarding official visits, but it's always good to pay attention to who the Detroit Lions are meeting with. You're getting names of, from the SEC, Auburn, Alabama. You're getting names from, predominant schools that Brad Holmes likes to target.
Mhm.
But you recognize too that there are going to be players drafted that the Lions don't need to have official visits with. They've done their research. They know, but there are a handful of players that when you look at the trackers and you look at the lists of visits of those that have come in and met with the team, and you definitely see the list of you see Josiah Stewart. A lot of the Michigan products are very much in line with coming in, especially at the local level, the local pro days. Of the names that you've kind of started to read about, who intrigues you maybe as later round picks that maybe could come in, day 2, day 3, that could come in and say, you know what, they could add some value and compete legitimately for a role, especially when you know that linebacker is going to have opportunities with Malcolm Rodriguez working his way back at defensive tackle as well, with Aleem McNeil being basically out until the second or third quarter of the season. There's opportunity, and backup safety if something should happen to Kirby Joseph or Brian Branch, offensive line, there's opportunities to compete for those spots. So this year, I think last year's draft kind of hinted at, okay, we're pretty set at where we are with the roster, and you're going to have to come in and maybe take a chance on a developmental player. But I think this year's class has more of a legitimate chance to compete, even at nickel corner or cornerback, should they decide to address the defensive backs in this year's draft. So from the names that you've seen kind of come in, who's caught your attention? Who are you, who are some of the draft crushes you're starting to see from the visits that have made their way to the Allen Park Performance Center?
So two that stood out to me, and they both play the same position, but I think they're both uniquely different. The first one is I would say the most interesting player in this entire draft. It's Shamar Stewart, and the fact that the Lions met with him tells you. And Brad values RAS score, and Shamar Stewart measurables everything he's a freak of nature. I know Dan and Brad are both interested in. Okay, let's talk to this guy. Let's get to know him. Let's see what makes him tick, the way he plays football. Because when you look at him, again, measurables, everything, you're like, this guy should be dominant. And then you watch the tape and you see flashes of, wow, this guy is dominant. But then you see a lot of other times you're like, he doesn't stand out to you consistently. So I wonder with him, if there's a situation, because it's hard to kind of judge where he's going. I mean, I've seen him going top 17. I've seen him fall to the Lions. My biggest question, and I can't wait for the draft for this, is A, do you trade up? Is there a fear that he might be gone before 28? Maybe the Ravens take him right before you. Or B, if he is there, what do you do? I wonder if the Lions will pull the trigger on that, because you look at him, he is Davenport 6'6", 200 something pounds, power guy. That's Shamar Stewart. That's the type of player they're looking for physically. Now, production, you'd start to look and be like, he doesn't have the production maybe, but they take a swing on a guy like that. I'm interested because they develop players really well, Doc, and I wonder what they could maybe turn Shamar Stewart into. That's probably one of the bigger questions I have. Since they met with him, and I know people have been talking about the whole top 30 visit thing. The Lions love drafting guys in the first round that they bring in on visits. They pull to that. Now, throughout the draft, it varies, but in the first round, if they meet with you, you're a consideration in the first round. So Shamar Stewart, the biggest question mark to me. And then Josiah, I'm curious with Josiah because he's very productive, played here locally. They've met with him, I think, virtually and top 30. So they clearly really like him. Local pro day, everything. He's a little smaller. Maybe he can play some Sam linebacker, or maybe just rush off the edge. He's another one where I think as the days go on, I'm starting to look at Josiah Stewart like that guy's going to be a Lion. That's just a feeling I have. They really like him, obviously. Comes from a great defense, some great players he played around him. But Josiah Stewart in the second, I'm almost like tending to lean that it will happen. And then I want to see what unfolds with Shamar Stewart. That's interesting to me.